Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture, and the rogues who create them every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on Facebook.com/Rogue Wave Podcast and Twitch.tv/Rogue Wave Podcast. That's Wave without the E, W-A-V. Download our podcast immediately following the live stream on all major podcasting apps, including Apple, Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, Soundcloud. You name it, we're out there. Search Rogue Wave Podcast or go to roguewavepodcast.com to subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts. And again, W-A-V without the E. Tonight, we've got Bacon. Kevin Bacon, that is. He dishes on his new album, his Showtime show, his new podcast, and Creating in the Time of COVID. Old Guard review. It's racking up the video views on Netflix, but is it any good? And the MCU making news, both good and bad. I am your host, Michael Dolce, as always, joined by my co-host extraordinaire, Mr. Hassan Godwin. How you doing, sir? You're very stable today on the video. It's exciting. It's exciting. You're.
Am I usually not stable?
You were Max Headroom. You were Max Headroom a lot. You know.
Yeah.
I completely just dated us, by the way.
You dated
knows what that is.
I have no idea who Max Headroom is. I don't know who
Max Headroom is from the 80s?
No, that's officially. I will claim
I got you.
not to know anything about
it. Nod.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm too young.
I got you.
So, like it's an argument, though, right, between us exactly whose network was glitching. Was it mine or yours? Yeah. So I maintain that, okay, finally you got your act together. Even though
we've upgraded your device and now suddenly you're looking.
We have not.
Listening.
We've done nothing.
People listening to the podcast right now have no idea what we're talking about. That is the live stream that we do every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Son's video was not as good. Maybe it was the COVID. I mean, who knows? Maybe that's what is in the way, or maybe it was your beard.
COVID comments.
Sure. I can't tell.
Maybe your
beard was overloading your platform with the pixels.
Yeah,
you upgraded the RAM, so we're good.
Yeah, there's that logic is sound. Let's blame the beard. Okay, it makes perfect sense to me.
Blame the beard. All right, we call this segment Rogue Rage. It is all the rage in the pop culture world. Tenet delayed indefinitely. It won't have a traditional global debut. Warner Brothers has pulled Tenet from its domestic release date, and it seems like the studio is planning to stagger its global debut. It's from Christopher Nolan. The theatrical release date was originally in July. Nolan has been committed for Tenet to get a theatrical release to support theaters, and also explained that it's an experience made to be seen on the big screen. But while theaters in New York and Los Angeles remain closed, Warner Brothers has pulled the release for now. However, they're still aiming for the film to debut in 2020. So it's actually very possible that it might debut overseas, but it's opening up, Pandora's box of piracy and everything like that. I think it's coming to a point now, though, where, you look at something like The Old Guard, which is what we're going to talk about, just streaming directly into people's living rooms and getting big numbers. Baseball is coming back tomorrow. Basketball is coming back. People are starved for, I don't want to call it a distraction, but they're starved for content. They're starved for entertainment here, especially considering the circumstances.
Yeah, seems so. But I don't know. Obviously, the money, even though they claim that there's good money in it, obviously the money is an issue. Because if the money wasn't an issue and you could get comparable money streaming your brand new content, they would be all the theaters. Everybody would have left theaters in the dust, very, very quickly. So it's not for any act of nostalgia that people like Nolan or and various other studio heads or directors are claiming that their movie is meant to be theatrically, experienced, and claiming some kind of allegiance to the original format.
I believe Nolan when he says it. I think Nolan.
I don't. I think if he could make his money, he could make his money.
Yeah, but I think he's past that now. I think he's past that. I think he is one of the old guard people. It's like Spielberg when he would still record on regular film rather than go digital. He just he had an allegiance to this. That's
a very big difference than holding an entire industry hostage, waiting for a theatrical release. It's got to be a money thing. because everybody, I mean, the studios don't even have directors or whatever don't have that much control over when their movies would be distributed, after the movies are made. Like Nolan can't really dictate exactly how the studio would decide to release the movie.
Well, he can though, and I'll tell you why. Because a director like him, right? If it's let's say was it Josh Trank from Fantastic Four? Well, he didn't get to dictate anything, right? Because he's Josh Trank. He has no track record. But someone like Nolan has a huge track record. The studio wants to appease him. He's in that upper echelon of directors where I think his input is generally like, hey, Christopher, we're thinking about doing this. No, I want to do theater. Okay, we're going to do our best. I think they're going to placate him for future relationships.
Because by the time they finally start releasing these movies, there's going to be such a glut on the market that none of these movies are going to get a chance to, actually have their – none of them – it's arguable.
Mm-hmm.
I might be dead wrong, but it's arguable none of these are going to get to be billion-dollar movies when they're finally released, which is what the studios are all banking on, right? Yeah. Because I don't think a lot of people are going to come running to the theater, That's not right away. It's going to take a while for them to want to get back into the swing of things. Also, you're going to have like instead of 10 or 20 movies, you're going to have 50, 60 movies, debuting all simultaneously or jockeying for position all throughout the year.
We will still not get free passes to these movies. I don't know how we do this. We gotta do something here.
No comment.
I'll bring my I'll bring my little handheld camcorder. That's right. I'm going old school with this. Better than I guess the phone is better now, but it's
I don't know where we're going now with this.
I'm gonna pirate it and send it to you because I know you're not gonna want to go to the theater. I will be your pirate, my man. I will take that. I will pay for 2 tickets.
Without getting too deeply into that, I don't think you would have to do that. I think there are others who do that professionally who would more than happily.
You think so?
Yeah, more than happily provide the piracy. I understand that that's the resistance of going full digital or streaming most of these movies. That no one would be getting any of the money for them because they would be easily stolen. There's not a lot of incentive to jump onto a streaming service because hey, I could just if I'm crafty enough or I know someone crafty enough, I could get those TV shows or I could get those movies without having to adhere to any restrictions. So I get it. I just think it's a mistake. I think no matter what, you're going to lose money.
Yeah.
So at least have a worldwide phenomenon. Now that's me speaking out. I haven't invested, X amount of $1 billion into,
you
into
haven't?
whatever industry.
Oh, you have to try it, my man. It's amazing.
No, you know what? No, I'm holding on to my money.
All the people down the block, they're all doing it.
No, my money's still under my mattress. I don't even bother with that.
Your cash is going to be useless soon. It's going to be a cashless society.
But I'm going to scan it. I'm going to use a scanner. I'm going to scan all my money, and it's going to be fine. I've been told.
You're going to have to turn it into gold somewhere. They're going to be like a gold exchange.
I'll get the
gold blocks. Not everything holding up our kitchen utensil. Could you get me the?
Convert to gold because currency will be outmoded once the aliens take over. Yeah, whatever that conspiracy theory is.
All right. Speaking of streaming services, it was before the gold talk. Last bit of bad news for today. Everything else today is going to be good news until we review Old Guard. The Falcon and Winter Soldier won't make August premiere. This has been launched. The Disney Plus Marvel series, which paused production in Prague in March, has officially been delayed. The streaming platform released its new list of programming coming next month, and the show wasn't on it. A source close to the situation confirms to Entertainment Weekly the premiere has indeed been delayed due to the global pandemic. If all goes well, a new premiere date will be announced soon. The show picks up the event.
If we cure what this disease, everything will go back to normal.
Overseas,
if all goes well.
Overseas, you are able to start filming again with restrictions. It's the same thing with sports. I mean, look.
I'm not talking about the situation. I'm talking about the verbiage. If all goes well, and the implications of what if all goes well.
If all goes well, that's subjective. I think what you just did was highly subjective because maybe they were just saying. Not in the global pandemic, but just...
I do believe that was my point. I mean, my point was, what did the hell does "if all goes well" mean? Because it's very vague. It's vague verbiage.
They're going to create, just like the NBA, they're going to do a Hollywood bubble.
You're driving
Hollywood
you're driving from New York to Jersey. If you say if all goes well, we'll be there by 6 o'clock, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? There's a wide variety of possibilities in the if all goes well. If the bridge is not out, if there's no traffic, if the car doesn't explode, if we don't get kidnapped. I mean, there's a wide array of possibilities that could happen if all,
You are
goes
the
well.
type of person.
Very
You
vague.
are the type of person that literally thinks about all these possibilities
Of
happening.
course I
Whereas
do.
I'm just like,
I don't know. I have an imagination. I thought you did too. That's up to you though.
All right, well, that's the end of the bad news. The good news is Tom Hiddleston's Loki series still slated for spring 2021. Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye adds new directors, and WandaVision with Elizabeth Olsen supposedly going to be released spring 2021 as well.
Isn't it Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen?
Yes.
So, come on, give him a little nod.
This is the age of women here, dude. You always I know you are against it, but I would like to trump it.
Yeah, you know what? I got more than enough evidence in the reverse on that one, buddy. So
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, of course not.
I don't know what you're talking about. The 200 plus episodes of
yeah.
Our show.
Which you always seem to pretend don't exist.
I make cogent points, my man. I make cogent points with objectivity.
Yes. COVID chauvinistic points as often as humanly possible.
Really exciting news, and this kind of dovetails with the MCU discussion. Virtual Comic-Con starts today, and will run and is running through the rest of the weekend. And the New Mutants debuted a new teaser ahead of the Comic-Con panel. Although it seems like New Mutants will never arrive in theaters after numerous delays. This was first published on Heroic Hollywood. The director and some of the cast will appear on a virtual panel for Comic-Con at Home, which replaces this year's San Diego Comic-Con, which, by the way, pretty sad about. The people behind the movie will be discussing the final X-Men film from the Fox era alongside director Josh Boone. He recently mentioned he'd love to direct a trilogy, but he's waiting to see how successful the first chapter is. There are rumblings on Reddit that it's coming to Disney Plus in September. That is the announcement they're going to make. Couple things here. New Mutants was not going to save movie theaters. Makes perfect sense. You already have a void with Falcon and Winter Soldier. You can pump in New Mutants, even though it's supposed to be darker in Disney Plus. I mean, maybe they'll put it on Hulu or whatever the case is. But just having this
Disney Plus is going to have to grow up a little bit, because they're going to be their content is going to be so limited, if they have to follow these like stringent parameters, and they've already got stuff. I mean,
right. I mean, the MCU
the Star Wars and these things are cartoonishly violent, but they're not benign,
I agree.
So,
I agree. I think
the Marvel movies. I mean, look how much death is in Infinity War.
And I think you can structure the app itself to, allow for parents to kind of
parental
parse it. Which is what Netflix does. Which is what a lot. HBO Max does this as well too. When you log into HBO Max, so I think they're simple. I think I agree. In all of these streaming wars, I think Hulu is like the odd streaming company out, because now they're owned by Disney Plus. I mean, or they're owned by Disney, I should say. What incentive does Disney have to grow Hulu? Like, what is Hulu in terms of what it can do that Disney Plus can't do if it's just parsed correctly, right?
Yeah.
But getting back to New
crazy, it's adding another streaming service to get, because these movies will be more in line with adult audiences than this. It's too much. Now they're bundling it together, but that still means you have to get two different services.
Exactly. No, I think that's a waste of time. Now, let me tell you right now, to buoy on your point earlier about Tenet and the fact that there would be a glut of movies, Disney Plus. It would be stupid for Disney Plus not to release this movie on on their streaming service. I don't care which streaming service. It would be stupid of them not to do it now. There is this void that's going to happen very soon. Like, at least, the streaming services like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, they film so far in advance that we're getting new seasons. Like, we're getting a new season of Umbrella Academy. We just got the new season of Doom Patrol. We're getting a new season of The Boys, because, the shooting schedule was kind of complete already. but we're going to hit this. We're going to hit this void. We're already hitting this void. The movie we're going to talk about next, I think, is capitalizing on this void of content. New Mutants could actually be a success if they wisely release it within the next 2 months.
No, they're talking about releasing it streaming. I don't know when, though. There's
again, I said on
it.
Reddit, there's rumors in September it's coming. And if that is the case, if they're going to announce that at Comic-Con,
that would be a sweet spot for them.
I mean, wouldn't it be? I mean, it would just make total sense. They were supposed to release Falcon Winter Soldier in August, and I'm assuming they're doing it weekly. So it would have been, the talk of August and September for them, and they don't have anything, but they've got this movie in the can. I'm telling you. Yeah. People will just enjoy it because it's new. That's it. I mean, it doesn't even have to be good. It just has to be out there.
If there honestly wasn't a
void,
shortage,
right?
If there wasn't a shortage, we wouldn't be getting the Snyder Cut. Nobody would be seriously entertaining that.
Right.
And I mean, talking about it like it's a big deal event. You know? So, because it was a joke a year ago. It's like, stop it, people. There's no Snyder Cut. Just stop it. We got what we got. Just move on. All of a sudden, now there's brand new paraphernalia from it. There's brand new images. There's people. There's content influencers talking about it like it's about to be the next big thing. There's people putting down Joss Whedon and elevating Zack Snyder. It's like, like, wait a minute, like we're in Bizarro land all of a sudden. I'm happy for Zack Snyder because I've actually enjoyed his movies. I enjoy his style of movies. I think he's a talented movie maker. I don't think he's fluff. I really think. I mean, sometimes I don't agree with some of his choices, but I don't think that he's half-assing his way through this.
No, he's not. He is full-assing his way into terrible movie.
I don't think a lot of his movies are terrible, though. So I disagree with you.
I thought 300 was amazing, but it was amazing because he really, shot for shot, stuck to Frank Miller's original graphic novel. I thought Watchmen was also as good an attempt at Watchmen as you're going to get in terms of adapting the original graphic novel. But that it wasn't his fault in my mind that it was sort of flat. I just think it's really difficult, and Alan Moore kind of said it. It's very difficult. I didn't make this to be a movie. I made this to be a graphic novel. That's what I made this for. I thought he did an extremely valiant effort in that. From there, it's been downhill. When he starts writing his own material and starts, because look, some people really, it goes back to comics too, right? Like some artists.
Dawn of the Dead. He's also got Sucker Punch. He's got
Sucker Punch. I didn't think was very good, and that's what that was the first movie I was thinking about.
But you're wrong about that. And then there's
we'll do a Sucker Punch retro review. How's that? We'll do a Sucker Punch retro review. Maybe not next week.
We don't need to. We don't need
in the next couple weeks. We'll do Sucker Punch.
And then Man of Steel. I mean, he's got some good. He's got some successful movies.
Man of Steel is not a bad movie. It's a bad Superman.
It isn't a good one. But I mean, it's. I think it's a great movie. It's a terrible story. I don't like the story.
But that's my point.
I don't know how much. Yeah, but that's how much of that can be blamed on him.
He wrote it.
He didn't write it.
If he didn't write it, he co-wrote it. I mean, it's definitely his. Yeah. These were his ideas.
Because there's no what's his name? Nolan isn't involved in that to a small extent. So is
Now I'm gonna.
Oh no. Why can't I remember the guy's name?
Here, wait, hang on. Let me, Man of Steel credits. Writing credits.
Christopher Jonathan Nolan, and also.
No, yeah, he's not. Yeah, they didn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah, they did. They're behind it.
Full cast and crew. Look at IMDb popping right up. My magic device that tells me everything.
What's his name? Goyer.
Oh yeah,
Goyer, right?
Goyer and Christopher Nolan of all people.
Duh.
Look at you.
What the hell? I know what I'm talking about
Goyer
on this show.
Yeah, Goyer. I got to interview Goyer a long time ago. I have to find that interview because we can.
You won't interview him again the way you're talking about him right now. But that's what I'm saying. So it's not 100% his fault.
All right, I'll give you. He's
a director.
You know what? Mark it down. This is your lucky day. But yes.
I know what you're talking about. And then there's
correct.
And then there's Terrio, who wrote
What,
B
Batman v
versus
Superman?
Batman versus. I think Terrio wrote Batman versus Superman, and,
I thought he was going to write. I thought
and
he was going to
also
write
Justice League.
No, he did Justice League Terrio, I think.
Yeah, but who wrote Batman versus Superman?
Oh my God! All right, well, we're not going to spend the rest of this time just looking up
Why
awful movies.
Why? We're about to talk about another awful movie, right? So,
oh, you tipped your hand a little bit. I like it.
I actually didn't. I totally didn't.
No, what part?
I didn't. I'm carrying off of what you said about it, because you already made a negative comment about it.
I did.
Yep, it's Chris Terrio and Goyer wrote Batman vs Superman. Yeah, I know what I'm talking about, dude. I know my work. Thank you. This is my wheelhouse. So anyway.
All right. So enough talking about bad movies. Let's talk about.
So I can't blame Schneider for that completely. You don't want to say he wrote it. That's you, my friend.
Old Guard rising to the top of the charts, ready to reach 72 million households. The Old Guard is quickly climbing the charts at Netflix. Directed by Gina Prince Bythewood and starring Charlize Theron. It was released on July 10th. According to Netflix, they posted to Twitter, the film is currently on track to reach 72 million households in its first 4 weeks. Currently at the top of the list is Extraction at 99 million, followed by Bird Box at 89 million. The assumed metrics would put the film at 6th position, right after Murder and Mystery and before The Irishman. The common thread pointed out by Bloomberg is the star power behind these films. Cast members like Chris Hemsworth, Sandra Bullock, and Mark Wahlberg could be big draws for audiences flipping through streaming looking for something to watch. Here's the thing: we're gonna do something fun today. Congratulations! It's always good to see the film. Any film that revolves around a comic book doing well. We're rooting from the financial end of things because it'll keep us in business and it'll keep everyone kind of going, and that's a good thing, right? We're gonna play yay, nay, or meh. Okay.
Oh my
so we're
God.
gonna review.
Who comes up with the names of these segments?
I do, and they're brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. What's the yay, nay, or may on that? On whether it's brilliant.
Yay, nay, or meh. Meh. Not may.
I said meh. That's how I say may.
Like may. It sounded like may.
Old
Old Guard is racking up video views, and that's great. Charlize Theron, I love her action movie phase that she's going through. She's kind of doing her Liam Neeson kind of in a way, right? Where all of a sudden she just becomes this like badass action movie star, and that's great.
Yeah. She's weighing into it, though. She's.
But I got a lot of issues with this movie. I really do. I want to like it so bad. I think the first.
So then like it. Done. How else can I help?
But I can't
what else can I help you with?
And my the audience of 3 people that listen to our show, they expect me to be genuine, or at least I hold myself up to a standard. I'm not going to go nay on this movie. I think there's a lot of merit to it. The opening sequence is awesome. I thought the scene of them coming back to life, even though I knew what the movie was about, to actually see it viscerally on screen where, the main heroes, and spoilers for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, to see them kind of get shot up and killed, it's actually, even though I know they're not dead because I knew the plot of the movie, it was still pretty, visceral to see. It was a cool, because it's just something you don't see. You don't get to meet the heroes and then they're dead in the first 10 minutes, even though obviously they come back to life. So I thought that was pretty cool. It had me interested and hooked, right?
Okay.
The things I didn't like about this movie, so I'm going to give this movie a meh, not a nay. I'll get into why it's not a nay, but here's my meh. How come, and this happened in Watchmen also, the TV series, I thought about this too. Why are the villains so cardboard? You have a pharmaceutical rep who's like, so when I write stories, right? When I write comics or I write screenplays or whatever, right? I always try to play devil's advocate in my own head, right? Like if I come up with a plot idea, I try to think of well, what would someone, objectively looking at my idea say to me, whether it's plausible or not, right? So in this particular case, it's like these pharmaceutical guys, it's like, I forget who the guy, what the actor's name was, but the really scrawny looking guy.
Oh my God.
But you have Chiwetel Ejiofor, right?
Yes.
So I practiced that name, and I forgot Harry Simpler or Simpleton or whatever his name is.
Yeah, I don't even know how you got that name right.
It's called I Take My Job Seriously.
Oh, all right. Okay. Today. Today you're taking you down seriously.
I buy the conceit that he was putting to test his theory, right? By putting them out there to get shot and get killed. I get that. I think that's interesting. I think that would work no matter what. However, wouldn't a simpler thing, since he's already kind of working with them, to just say, hey, I know who you guys are. We've got this company, and we'd like to, and I lost my wife, and I want needless suffering to end, and I think you could do a much better job if you came and worked with us. And they could say no, or they could say, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And then he could set them up, or he might have set them up beforehand, and maybe they track him down, and then he says, look, I'm doing this because I want to help humanity. The same outcome happens if you just ask the question versus let's kidnap them and hold them at will. Like, why? What made them decide? What made the pharmaceutical company decide, like, well, we have to imprison them like lab rats? Because that's what evil, bad people do. And it's like, oh my God. All the interesting, just ask the question. Again, just ask the question is all I'm saying. And you could change that whole entire...
The point I'm trying to make is that you got to set it up for the audience exactly what's going on, because you're coming in with grievances, right? You're aggrieved because of what you're watching, but nobody, if they're listening, well, they shouldn't be listening to us if they don't know that, if they haven't seen it, because we're spoiling the hell out of it. But I mean, if you're so Charlize Theron and a bunch of guys, they're a paramilitary group. There's some kind of spec ops like mercenary crew that's being hired by Chiwetel Ejiofor for I don't know, very vague reasons to go to this particular place to do this particular thing. They go in, they get ambushed, they all get murdered theoretically, or ostensibly, riddled with bullets, and then they get up, seemingly not killed.
It's a cool scene, had me hooked, which you can still do in my version of things, because maybe you do need to prove that they are who they are,
right? But in this revelation, in the revelation of the moment, they're immortal, right? And then they kill the guys that killed them, and they realize that they were being filmed. That this whatever group has hired them is onto them, and so they kind of go into hiding. That's the beginning premise of the film that leads into the story. In the meantime, there's a soldier in Afghanistan. I think they established Afghanistan. Played by Kiki Lane, and she is, on a mission. They're kicking doors in to find this, find this insurgent. She's killed, and she gets killed. And graphically, you find out she's the next one of them. Yeah, and so because there's a intrinsically psychic link between them all, they find out that she's immortal through mutual dreams. Mind stream or sensation, dreaming.
We're gonna walk out of this, by the way. You're gonna be meh as well by the time we're out of this. This is gonna be a Jack O'Donnell moment where I convert your feelings on this movie by the time we're done. Because you're gonna do it all yourself because you're explaining it now out loud and you're like, oh wait a minute, okay.
No, I'm not in the dark about how I feel about the film. I have rather strong feelings about the film, but so all right. So and then the premise is basically they're being hunted, but in the meantime, they're going to go find Kiki Lane to bring her into their organization because that's what they do. That's basically because her being immortal has now shattered all the aspects of her life the way she knew it. And they're going to have to kind of bring her into their life, and so they're established as kind of you couldn't call them altruistic, but they're kind of compassionate. They are established. They're
altruistic from doing what they believe is the right thing to do.
But that's the thing. You can't necessarily call that altruism. They think they're altruistic. It's not a nay,
right? It's not a nay for me. There's a cool story in here somewhere.
I'm just establishing the setting so that while you're picking it apart, people who are listening know exactly what you're picking apart.
Oh, don't be so
don't be so correct. Don't think about the audience. Yeah, I understand that's your premise, but
I expect them all to do their homework and have seen the movie before they come.
That's the problem. That's why there's only 3 of them, because you expect them to work too hard. Okay. So anyway. Anyway, so piggybacking off of what you're saying, turns out that the people who set them up at the evil pharmaceuticals, led by
the creepy kid from Wedding Crashers.
Right,
Harry
I think
Melling.
That's
definitely him. I don't know for a fact.
His name is Harry Melling. Anyway, But okay, he's been in a ton of things too. You want to feel bad for him? Watch the Ballad of Buster Scruggs. He's in a segment of that by the Coen brothers, and it's heartbreaking. Anyway, but maybe not to you because you have no compassion. So anyway,
correct.
So basically the pharmaceutical company has found out that these guys are immortal, and they basically want to kidnap them and steal their immortal secrets so that they can distribute it to the world. That's basically the full premise.
Yeah.
Your contention is, why didn't they just ask, instead of losing unprecedented amount of soldiers of their private army to try to coerce them or kidnap them into being guinea pigs for whatever terrible experiments they have planned. I understand what you're saying. I think the thing is, if they tip them off, or their worry is that these guys are immortal. Supposedly Charlize Theron has been around maybe 3,000 years, right? Though they never actually put a stamp on it. If they make their intentions known early on, these guys might go into hiding, and you'll never find them again. So they're using.
But there was first of all, that wasn't the kid from Wedding Crashers. At least not according to his filmography. I'm looking.
So you're just bad at you're bad at this.
No, I'm just saying that's what he looks like. He looks like the creepy kid from Wedding Crashers. But anyway, no.
So you have to verify these things before you say them.
To counterpoint what you just said, sorry, spoilers again if you haven't seen it. One of their own ends up betraying them anyway. He's been working with them the whole time. It's like, why wouldn't he just, why wouldn't he be like, hey guys, I think we should work with these guys because maybe they could finally unlock the secrets of what makes us immortal, and we can get away. And
I guess theoretically he knew that they would say no. So he was like, "What? Let's cut out the middleman.
So why wouldn't he just give himself up? Like that's again, it doesn't make sense. I'm sitting there, if they were just going to experiment on him, and he ends up getting captured by them anyway, which is the stupidest thing. It's like, wait a minute, you couldn't see this coming a mile away.
It can make sense. It doesn't make sense in the information that was given. Like the problems you're having could be cleared up with 2 lines of dialogue. That you're just saying that those 2 lines are not in the film.
No.
And that's the problem. And I appreciate that. I understand what you're saying about that.
And also,
I don't actually even disagree with what you're saying.
And also, I mean, here's the thing too. That's just really, the evil pharmaceutical guy. Like, I mean, it's just so cardboard. It's like, come on, give me a compelling villain. I mean, here's the thing too, and this is why I say my version of the movie is better. You could have learned all of the coolest parts about this movie are all the ways they set up, they've helped in history. And I feel like that's kind of like a really cool thing. I forget who the character, the Asian character is, her name is, the history between Andy and her. That's interesting. The fact that she helped, then she got, in the Salem witch trials got dunked. I thought that was really, really good. It wasted so much time trying to show us it was an action movie when it didn't have to be. This is not, I mean, it doesn't have to be an action movie. If it's going to be an action movie, I'd like it to at least just be an action movie then. It was trying to do different things. All the more interesting parts of the movie, to me, were like, oh, by the way, now Charlize Theron can do jump kicks, by the way. Or you can get shot and, I can play dead. Like, it was the thing that kills me is like, well, how did the comics go? I don't know, but the guy who wrote the comics wrote the screenplay, so I can't imagine the book was any more in depth than what ended up being on the final, the final screen.
Okay, well, I hear you.
So the question is, why are all these people watching it? And why are all these people enjoying it? Besides Charlize Theron, who's amazing, she is one of those magnetic actors who just command a presence on the screen. And she is the anchor to this entire film. I liked all the supporting characters. I had no problem with the supporting characters. But honestly, without her in the movie, this would be, next to not. It would be unwatchable. I think, right? I mean, I think let's just call it what it is, right? It would be unwatchable.
I wouldn't say it would be unwatchable, but it would be a different experience.
It'd be a totally different experience.
Definitely
unwatchable.
For you, yes, I understand. It's hard for you to watch things anyway. So
yeah. But but really, yeah, that's to me. I think the reason that everyone's watching it though is because it's the only thing on. I think 72 million people are starving for content right now, which is why
we can't know that. And that's fair that you think that, but I mean, we can't know that.
Disney Plus needs to release New Mutants so that it can be heralded as the best movie of the bunch, because we are starving.
It won't be, but yeah, but I think it's the only chance that New Mutants has of being a hit after being delayed 5 times. So right. Yeah, it will actually have its opportunity to shine brighter than everything else because people will be really hungry for it.
Yeah, and it's got the girl from Game of Thrones that we all liked. See, so and she still looks like that because even though it was filmed 5 years ago, so she still looks like the same thing from Game of Thrones. So, yay, nay, or meh? What are you?
I'm a yay.
You're a yay. You would encourage. You're like thumbs up on this.
There's a bunch of really clunky things in it, premise wise, and I did like the fact that the Immortals actually just kind of ran out of immortality after a while. I like the premise of that. That was pretty clever. I don't like the way it happened in the film. That's like, oh, of course, okay. And the ambiguity about the fact that maybe Charlize Theron knew about it and didn't tell anyone. It's like, how would you know? You know, and they had, and I do like there are a bunch of very matter-of-fact moments that they have that are really, especially dialogue moments that are really great, where they just say, yeah, I did this, or yeah, we're immortal, yeah, we do this, especially like with Charlize Theron explaining to Kiki Lane, whose character's name is Nile. So Charlize Theron is Andromache, and Kiki Lane is named Nile. So when Andromache is explaining to Nile about certain things, like, at one point she's running away, and Charlize Theron shoots her, like literally murders her.
Yeah, and that was cool.
She wouldn't run away, and then she says, "You shot me," and he's like, "Yeah, I did." So get in the car, like things like that, without over enhancing it, without any pretense, without over embellishing the circumstance. I think those really land really well, and trying to sell a really convoluted and really out there premise, I think. And then there are some other times, I think most of the times when they do these flashbacks and they go into, they do these expositional scenes of trying to set up. That's where I felt the writing was at its clunkiest.
Yeah.
Where it was just like, wow, like it was almost like someone else wrote those scenes, and they wrote them, either they had written them in the same language as the rest of the movie, and then someone came along and dumbed them down. Someone who wasn't the writer came along and intentionally dumbed them down so people would be able to follow them. Or the writer himself became very self-conscious about explaining the premise, and then it just really got clinical, because those are the scenes that kind of landed with a thud with me. It was, and I don't even think you needed to explain a lot of that stuff.
I don't think you did either. I think it was pretty easy. Again, it was almost like, two movies in this, right? I mean, you have the new immortal that rises, but at the same time, you have one of their own who is sick of being immortal. Those, to me, are actually two separate movies, right? Or two separate plots.
Well, I mean, yeah, but
you can integrate them, but they didn't do a good job of that, in my mind. And that's why, again, a lot of cool things in this movie, but ultimately, I give it a meh. Yeah, and we as a show give it a meh, even though you gave it a yay.
No, we don't. There's no
who's never a meh? Who's always a yay?
I think it's a yay. I think the movie is a yay. You think it's a meh, so it comes in the middle. Yeah, I know you're trying to segue, but I haven't explained my point, so I'm taking my moment.
You gave it a yay. You gave it a yay. We also give a yay to Mr. Kevin Bacon, joining us again, talking about his new album.
I'm glad I did not help with that segue, because it was a bad one.
I know. You just all right.
I'm glad I did not assist you.
Kevin Bacon, coming up next. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast. This is Michael Dolce, as always, joined by his co-host, Mr. Hassan Godwin. But today we have a very special guest. We have Mr. Kevin Bacon, the definition of a rogue, if I've ever, by any rogue standards, Mr. Kevin Bacon is that. How you doing, sir?
Good. How you guys doing?
We are fantastic. We are hanging in there throughout the pandemic, and you know, we are a pop culture show that that obviously has no pop culture. So when we saw that you guys were releasing a new album, we said, "Hey, this is pretty good. This is pretty good." So talk to us about the new album, the new Bacon Brothers album, The Way We Love. When we had you on last time, it was last year actually. You guys were talking about Play, and I think Play was the only song that kind of came out, and you were going to work through the album. Talk to us about the new album.
You know, we're really as my brother, who's not here, as we know. So I'll put words in his mouth because I can. He's much more kind of like attached to the idea of album. I have always really kind of felt like, we'll put a single out, we'll put another single out, we'll put another single out. But truth is when I stop and I listen to the whole thing as a collection, I'm really glad that we did it, you know, because it has a feel. It definitely is a specific kind of. It definitely feels like a Baker Brothers album, and there is a connectivity between the songs in that they are connected by, you know, just things that we love, whether it's family or music or you know, just that seemed to make sense in terms of a title. And even though some of the songs had already been out, I'm happy that they're part of the collection. And you know, we're songwriters, so the only reason that we end up with 9 albums is because the songs kept coming. And I frankly feel like there's some good ones there. And so I'm happy with it.
So one of the songs that have been released is called Corona Tune. I gotta imagine that has been inspired by today's pandemic. Talk to us about that song in particular, and what aspect of this pandemic are you kind of addressing in that?
Well, I was in lockdown in LA. It was actually kind of interesting as a side about this record, because what happened was we were in the studio, I'd say about March 12th, finishing up 3 songs for the record. And we were in New York, in a studio actually right on the other side of Lincoln Tunnel called in Hoboken, New Jersey. And it became pretty clear that I was not going to be going back to work, that we were going to shut down. Like everybody else at that point, I thought, well, we'll probably shut down for 3-4 weeks, something like that, so we can get this thing under control. But I thought it would be a good idea. My instinct said, I think I need to get out to LA and be with my family, because my family was out there. My wife was there. My 2 kids were there. So I got on a plane the next day and went out there, and that was, you know, the middle of March, and that's when everything changed, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So we had those 3 songs that we had just recorded, and those songs that were mixed from the engineer's home during the pandemic. Then I was sitting around in LA, and I, you know, a lot of people talk when they win awards or they stand up and have some great moment in their life, a child is born or whatever. If the parents are passed, they love to say, boy, mom and dad are looking down on us right now, and they're just loving everything that's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'd be so proud of us, or you know, whatever. But rarely do people say, mom and dad are looking down right now, and they would be horrified. It's like when things go bad, nobody, you know, thinks about that as a notion. So that's really where the song came from. You know, my parents have been gone for a long time, and I was just thinking about how they would react to this times, and I'm glad, and it gives me a sense of comfort that they don't see it. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's you know, it's kind of a dark notion, but I put you know, I started writing it in LA in the lockdown, and a good friend of mine lives down the street, Teeny, and Severio had been in quarantine as well, and he has a studio, a nice studio in his house. So I did most of it from my own home studio, and then went down there and cut some vocals. And then Michael sent us the cello parts.
How's that been actually
in LA?
Yeah, how has that been working? It's fine. I'm glad you mentioned that too, because I know a lot of artists are doing this where they're working across Zoom or they're working across email. Do you find it challenging? And again, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I love that I love hearing.
Okay.
I love hearing that. Like, how do you guys do this across this?
Well, we've actually done this quite a bit. Where it's basically a question of file sharing. I mean, we did almost an entire record a few albums ago where our band cut the tracks from home studios, because everybody in the band has some version of a home studio.
Mm-hmm.
They've got good mics, they've got good big, hard drives and good amps. And, you really can do that if you start with a basic guide track, and there's click, and the beats per minute. You can really do some pretty cool file sharing, and then it's just a question of editing and mixing and making it work. So that was not all that unusual, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
When we got into that with this one, Michael's cellos came, and they came, over the webs, and we put them on.
And so for you, actually, the process was kind of almost the same. So you were prepared for the pandemic in a strange way, right?
I guess, yeah, maybe that's one way of looking at it. I don't know. I'm not sure I was quite prepared. But yeah.
What are the standout tracks? Now, something that always strikes me is because this kind of evolved over a series of many months. Did you fall in love with any tracks? Did you fall out of love with any of the tracks? Is there a couple that that really kind of hit you more now than it did before? Anything like that?
The song that I was really happy with was Bigger. And the thing was that I wrote Bigger. I did a demo of it, and unlike some of the other ones, we started playing it live, and it's an interesting process, because I will bring a song to the guys, and I've done a demo, or Mike's done a demo, and there's a sound that we're going for. There's a certain tempo. There's a key, and there's some suggested kind of parts and licks and stuff like that. And sometimes the song takes on a completely different vibe than what the demo is, and sometimes it's really, really pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
And in the case of Bigger, I just kind of heard it in that way. And the first time that we started playing it, what we do is we'll introduce the song to the band, and we'll play it during our sound checks.
Yeah.
And then eventually we go, okay, here we go. Let's play it tonight. And you put it out there, and you see how the audience reacts to it. And it's not like a song that's like, I wouldn't say it's like a song that gets everybody on their feet, crowd pleasing. It's not funny. You know what I mean? It's not that kind of a tune.
Yeah.
But it felt right. Like musically, it felt right. It felt like it was really in the pocket. So that when we got into the studio the day before we started the lockdown,
yeah,
we had played the song a lot.
Yeah.
And it was one of those ones where I just feel like it just lay in really nice when we recorded that tune.
Yeah. And now, when you said before you recorded the different parts, don't you eventually get into the studio together though? Or have you done that before where you haven't gotten into the studio together and still managed to record the finished song?
No, I've done. We've done it. We've done it where we haven't even seen each other.
Wow.
We like to joke that it's great. You know, you can make a record, never have to hang out. No, we have definitely done it. We've done it in that way.
Oh man. Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to wrap Hassan, my co-host, and we're musicians also. And I can't even fathom the thought of not like getting the vibe or the energy together. But at the same time, I would never know it listening to the songs. Like I would never, from listening to your songs, I would never know.
Yeah. But that being said, they also, a lot of times were things that we had played, you know, multiple times.
Okay.
So it's not like, there's one song on the record that was done during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
It was produced by a guy named Joe Nicola
Mm-hmm.
in Philly. And we didn't see each other at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it was he had some people, he had some musicians in the studio, but not us. We were just, I did my vocals in LA, and Mike did his vocals in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think, did I put any guitars? I don't think either one of us even. Yeah. So yeah, it can be done. It can be done. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever feel this way, but the hard part about the studio to me is to try to capture the excitement of what it's like to play live.
Yeah.
And to get that kind of like excitement, and to not make things too sound too produced in a way. You know? I mean, it's okay to be produced to a certain extent, but you also want to have a little bit of spontaneity, So capturing that, in theory, if you're not in the same place,
sure,
is difficult. But sometimes you really can, I mean, sometimes you really can. I always crack up because we did a record where, I said, okay, I want to do this entire record in the studio. I want us all there together, and we're going to do, maybe we'll do like 4 or 6 takes at the same tempo.
Yeah.
Of a song, and we're all going to play at the same time and do a minimum of overdubs. And then if we have to edit, between one taker, the vocal on one or whatever, we're going to be able to do that because there'll be enough separation. And we did the whole record like that, and it was really fun to do. And then it blew my mind because somebody said to me once, yeah, it just sounds kind of overproduced. So I was like, well, I don't know what to tell you,
You're a tremendous sports fan. I know you're a Knicks season ticket holder, or you're at least you're there at the Garden. You're always one of the famous guys there. On this record, you managed to wrangle in another New York sports legend in Bernie Williams. Talk to us about that and what it was like working with Bernie.
Great. It's crazy about Bernie. He was really sweet to come in and sit in with us that night. That was a live track from a place called Sony Hall in Manhattan, and we met him at a benefit called Love Rocks, which is a big kind of star-studded event at the Beacon that they hold every year.
Mm-hmm.
And he plays his ass off, clearly, guitar, as well as baseball.
He might be a better guitarist than he is a baseball player. as crazy as that sounds.
He's awesome. Yeah, he's awesome. And he's a very humble guy.
Yeah.
And I think that there's something that we sort of related to because most people don't really like it when you do two things. For instance, be an actor and be a musician. People are resistant to that. It's, people find that kind of annoying.
Yeah. And,
we've had to sort of push back against that for the entire career that we've had. So, of course, if you're a baseball player, there's going to be a lot of eye rolling when you hear that, Bernie Williams is going to come out and play. And he's a very serious musician.
Oh, yeah.
And it takes no time at all to see that he's got fantastic chops and taste. And so Michael came up with the idea of doing Mercy, 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 which I don't know if we've ever done an instrumental before.
Mm-hmm. So
that was kind of fun. And we just played it with him that one night at Sony Hall, but we got a pretty good take on it.
No, that's awesome. I've seen him perform, and he's just, it's, you know what? I can't disagree with you though. I mean, even, if you hear about, the actor Kevin Bacon or the baseball player Bernie Williams, there's always that skepticism. It's just ingrown because you're only known as just one thing. That's what the public sees. They don't know how you are behind the scenes. They don't know, if you're a devoted musician or a, devoted father, devoted whatever. They don't know all that stuff. So I can't help but agree with you. There's this natural eye roll that just kind of goes with it. But tremendous to have him to perform with him as well. Switching to the acting side, I know A City on the Hill got renewed. Where were you guys left off in terms of filming the season 2, or did it even start at that point?
We were on episode 3.
Okay.
So yeah, we were on episode 3.
So. Yeah, what was that like? You were in the middle of filming, and then just everything gets shut down. Is there any updates in terms of maybe coming back and doing more filming, or no?
Yeah. I mean, I'm actually hoping to hear something this week. It's going to be challenging. There's a lot of protocols that are in place
mm-hmm.
for how it's going to happen, and clearly the actors are the ones that are the most at risk because we have to take our masks off.
Yeah,
it will be like it'll be like filming. I guess it'll be like filming in a pandemic. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think anyone really knows exactly what it's going to feel like. But we do have a lot of the unions and the producers are figuring out ways to make it happen. And I'm optimistic that we'll get back to work and finish out our season sometime in maybe September. I don't know.
That's great. Now, you also had a movie out called You Should Have Left, and it was an on-demand movie, but that was kind of because of the times, I guess, right? I mean, there's nothing precedented about any of the stuff that we're going through here. What was the experience like on working on that film with Amanda Seyfried and what when you approach a horror movie? How's that different in terms of the way you act in terms of maybe a drama or, a comedy?
The approach really is not that different to me. I mean, I feel like it's all the same basic toolbox for performing and playing a part.
Yeah.
There's some technique certainly that's a little bit different for comedy, I would say, specifically. But yeah, I mean, I like the genre. I always have. And I have gone back and forth into it every once in a while. This specific movie, I made a movie 20 years ago with the writer-director, David Koepp.
Yep.
That one was called Stir of Echoes. And then we, I just always really wanted to do another one with him. And so kept kind of, begging him to go back to work with me. And then I finally wore him down. And we went to Scotland and we made the movie. We were already talking about it being an online release, and then the pandemic hit, and then it was like, okay, well, now the timing just seems right.
What about the thought about the movie theaters? Because that's something that we've been talking about on the podcast too, and we're lamenting the fact that we just don't foresee people going back to theaters, even if they open. for 6 months. Can the industry sustain it? Is there something about the live, movie experience that is different to you than at home?
There is for me. I think that what we're seeing, there was a lot of doubts about that, and even though revenues were going up, they were going up with a bunch of like giant blockbusters,
Yeah.
And everybody has always been saying that it's, I remember when VCRs came out, everyone told me that the movie business was over. And so, yeah, it's going to be hard. There's no doubt about it, for the theater owners to survive. And I guess Netflix was already starting to kind of chip away at that market, and they were in a lot of, as you know, like,
yeah.
Big arguments about when it was ethical to release things or not. On the other hand, when you look at the way that people have reacted to the possibility of re-emerging, you realize that people really do fundamentally want to, get out and be with other people.
Yes.
I don't think it's just because I'm old that I like to go and sit in a dark room with strangers and have a shared experience of watching a movie or a rock show or, whatever it is. So I think that, yeah, I mean, how and what that looks like moving forward, I don't really know, but I do think that I think it's going to come back. I mean, what you saw before this thing hit was that the theater owners were realizing that they had to really step up that experience, with, better food and alcohol and big chairs and all kinds of cool kind of amenities to make going out be a really kind of special thing. So we'll see.
Very cool. You in addition to being in every single movie that's ever come out in the last 30 years, you are now in the podcasting world as well too. The Last Degree of Kevin Bacon. What was that like working on a scripted podcast? It's almost like a radio drama, right?
Yeah, it's not it's a comedy, radio comedy, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. It was a great experience. I loved I love doing it. It's an interesting experience because I'm only working with one piece of my instrument,
Yeah.
and that's my voice. And it was an idea that I'd done some stuff with some of the people from Funny or Die, made a couple of short films with them, a directed one with the guy that wrote Last Degree of Kevin Bacon. And he pitched me the idea, and I said, "That's cool. I love that." And Spotify, jumped on board, and we had a really good time making it.
Is it? You said you only got to flex one instrument. Did you find it more challenging? To do that?
Yeah, it is. It is challenging. Listen, it's obvious, that you're only using, this thing. You can't show your expressions. You can't use your body, all those kinds of things. I'm not one of those people that's done a whole lot of animation, for instance.
Okay.
I've only voiced one animated dog years ago, but so I don't, that's not something that I'm really used to doing, but it was a challenge, but I enjoyed doing it, and we got really fun people in it. Not to mention Kira Sedgwick, played Kira Sedgwick, so that was great.
Last question: you have played in every genre that you can imagine. You've done horror, you've done the superhero world, you've done drama, comedy. What's your favorite in all of this? Like which one do you really light up and really sink your teeth into?
Do you mean genre-wise?
Yeah, like what's the type of
Okay.
of script that it's like, this is the one. If I could do this all day every day, I would do this.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I this is what I feel really grateful for. You know, when I set out to become an actor, what I really wanted to do was to be able to play a whole bunch of different kinds of guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like the idea of, I never was interested in playing me. First off, that's just not interesting. I don't, you know, even in The Last Degree of Kevin Bacon is a created character, it's not me, you know. And so because I've been lucky enough to have a lot of different types of parts to play, and because I'm open to pretty much doing anything, I've been able to move across genres, you know. And that to me is something else that's just, I just feel, you know, so grateful for that. I get, you know, people send me scripts, and sometimes they're funny, and sometimes they're dark, and sometimes they're, you know, mysterious, and sometimes they're, you know, straight drama, and you know what I mean. I feel really, I'm just very lucky in that way.
Well, we are lucky to have you on. This is the third appearance on our show, and we really appreciate it. We wish your brother was with us as well too. But Kevin, thank you so much. And again, we look forward to the new record, and we look forward to having you on again sometime soon.
Thanks so much, guys. Great to talk to you.
Stay safe and stay healthy. Want to thank our guest, Mr. Kevin Bacon, for returning. We missed his brother. I had a whole Bacon versus Bacon thing that we were gonna debut. We were gonna debut a new segment. I had this trivia. It was really, really outstanding. That being said,
I had to change my shirt.
We were really happy that we at least got Kevin Bacon to come on and talk about, again, the new album, which go out and listen to it. We got to listen to it last year. There was just a couple singles released, and obviously, you know, the time of COVID is a time where people have a lot of time in their hands to do some creation. So we're excited to at least get our ears wrapped around the new album and his new podcast, by the way, which is really, really funny. All right. We are big fanboys about all things comic book, and we like to bring you the inside info on the source material that will make its way into the large and small screen. We call this segment Spinning the Racks.
Spin the rack, spin that rack.
So we were going to do I had a whole bunch of comic book stories. However, this show is just so jam-packed, and it happened to happen
it's
today.
Kevin Bacon's fault. It's a Bacon.
Kevin Bacon's fault. Yes.
Yeah.
When in doubt, you can always blame Kevin Bacon. Blame Kevin Bacon. That should
6
be the
degrees
nickname.
of blaming Kevin Bacon for our overtime.
But it was revealed. You revealed it to me, actually. Lando's Donald Glover will return for a Star Wars Disney Plus series. So it is something that was rumored to happen, and a whole bunch of outlets are reporting it now. It was on the latest episode of the Kessel Run Radio Video Podcast. But try to digest that. It has radio, video, and podcast all in the same title. The rumor in its final segment at the time, it's unknown what the official title of the series would be. If it comes to fruition, the podcast reports one possibility is the Calrissian Chronicles. That's definitely a guess right there.
Yeah,
it's on the heels of Alden Ehrenreich, who had actually also been previously interviewed, saying he would love to return if the story was correct. So, in an age of nothing is ever dead. What's your over under 50% that this gets made?
Oh man, I hate these.
I know.
I'd say over 50. I'd say over 50.
Yeah.
Look, there's a lot left undone, a lot left unsaid. I think whereas you could expect a company like Disney to not want to put millions, hundreds of millions of dollars behind the investment of a movie that has already not proven out in the box office, right? You could also expect them to want to cash in on as many, as many opportunities as humanly possible with the franchise. There are people who use as metrics for the viability of a product the manufacturing of collectibles, paraphernalia, or whatever. The collectible paraphernalia for Solo, a Star Wars story, through Hot Toys and Sideshow Toys, is almost a boom industry. Like there's been a serious resurgence of desired collectibles and the selling of collectibles for that, and a lot of people use that as a metric to realize to substantially predict exactly what moves the home company, the mother company of Disney is going to make. So this has been rumbling for a while. Again, we emphasize this is just a rumor, but I do believe that there's a huge possibility that this is going to happen. I think
where there's smoke, there's fire, right?
Yeah, I think it's the best way for them to capitalize on the Mandalorian, continue the story, whatever story they had planned with the Solo.
Amelia Clark's available.
Yeah,
Amelia Clark's available.
with the Solo trilogy that they might have wanted to do, that they would theoretically wanted to do. I think Donald Glover was great as Lando. I don't think they gave him a lot to do in that movie, but I think he did a great job being Lando.
Yeah.
And so if Alden Ehrenreich could be in various episodes, and we could get some more insight into the character, and then we could get some more of that world, which was really well constructed by Opie. by Ron Howard, excuse me, really well depicted, because it was constructed in the original trilogy, but it was well depicted. I'd be happy about this.
Oh, I'd
be thrilled about it.
Yeah.
Look, against all reality, because I know I gave you a seriously hard time about it right after the Last Jedi, when you saw the trailer for Solo and you were like, it looks fun, and I was like, shut up. I was extremely.
Here's the funny part. And not to really harken our Last Jedi debate again, which is really not much of a debate because we were on the same side on this one, but for some reason Disney was the only entity out there that thought Star Wars needed a reboot, and they came out with Last Jedi. Like they were the only. They're like, hey, we just bought this franchise for $4 billion. Our last movie made that essentially. Let's reboot the whole thing and let's go in a completely different direction.
Yeah. Let's trash all the goodwill that we've
something that is in line with the mythology, with the tone, with everything. It actually did poorly. All things considered.
So another bite of the apple, another chance for them to
right. If Zack Snyder can get Justice League made, there's no reason why a good movie can't continue its storyline. All right. That was our show for tonight. Again, I want to thank Kevin Bacon. We missed Michael Bacon. I hope we get to interview him as well next time as well for the fabulous Bacon Brothers. They got the new album, so I want to thank them again. Thank Kevin. And next week we will be digesting. We got a pretty jam-packed next couple weeks, thank goodness. Comic-Con at home in review. We've got Cursed on Netflix, and the Todd McFarlane biography is airing this Friday is it this Friday? The 25th, right?
Yeah, the 25th. No,
it's Saturday night, Sci-Fi Network. We'll be talking about that as well, because definitely
it'll be exciting.
A rogue, if we've ever seen one, is Mr. Todd McFarlane, and he will kick off our very first Rogues Gallery segment. Yeah, we're going to do a Rogues Gallery segment all about Todd McFarlane next episode. See you then.
Rogue Wave.